It's your weekly educational show. And tune in. It's inspirational, educational, and you won't want to miss it. It's everything agriculture. Hey, this man Easy, inviting you to tune in. It's all about everything agriculture with the man Banky and Company alongside Yason Tafari. It's your weekly educational show. And tune in. It's inspirational, educational, and you won't want to miss it. It's everything agriculture. Hey, this man Easy, inviting you to tune in. It's all about everything agriculture with the man Banky and Company alongside Yason Tafari. It's your weekly educational show. And tune in. It's inspirational, educational, and you won't want to miss it. It's everything agriculture. Hey, this man Easy, inviting you to tune in. It's all about everything agriculture with the man Banky and Company alongside Yason Tafari. It's your weekly educational show. And tune in. It's inspirational, educational, and you won't want to miss it. It's everything agriculture. Hey, this man Easy, inviting you to tune in. It's all about everything agriculture with the man Banky and Company alongside Yason Tafari. It's your weekly educational show. And tune in. It's inspirational, educational, and you won't want to miss it. It's everything agriculture. Hey, this man Easy, inviting you to tune in. It's all about everything agriculture with the man Banky and Company alongside Yason Tafari. It's your weekly educational show. And tune in. It's inspirational, educational, and you won't want to miss it. It's everything agriculture.
From Tennessee, Atlanta, Florida, Chicago, New York, wherever you are to the sound of my voice in the US. Great, thank you for tuning in. I know it's Boston up there, and it's winter time. Well, not more, it's winter time. The winter season started after Labor Day in Brooklyn. So, but also good evening to the folks over in Europe, England, Asia, Africa, wherever you are to the sound of my voice. Good afternoon, good evening, whichever is appropriate. Thank you for choosing Real Entertainment Network, and always remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel, also to subscribe to the Facebook also, but we really want you to also attach over. You can stay on the YouTube, also the Facebook would also go over to the YouTube, where Facebook is really not really holding these videos for a long time. They're deleting them, but the YouTube, they are there, so you can be on both channels. So please subscribe and continue to share the link and continue to support Real Entertainment Network. Also, if you want to advertise a business through Real Entertainment Network, you can just get in contact with Yasun or myself or any one of the team members, Alan, Ira, Reese, whichever one you can get in contact with, Chev, and definitely we'll work out something for you. Yasun, how are you doing? Good evening.
Yeah, global greetings. Wonderful. Got a little bit of showers of blessings earlier on today, so a little something to smile about. It wasn't enough really, but hopefully we may get some more later on this evening. Good evening, everybody. It's I'm looking forward to a very engaging discussion. There's a lot that's happening. There's a lot that's going on in agriculture and around agriculture, and it's always something that we're passionate about, and we always want to be able to keep the masses up to date and informed, and share what we can share and encourage who we can encourage as much as possible to see agriculture as a very, very instrumental part of our future development and our future growth. I think it really should be given a lot more attention, and not just lip service as we seemingly do get in a lot of cases, and not just here on St. Kitts and Nevis, but in a lot of cases throughout the region, and even as further as even in some of our African territories where our brothers and sisters are. Part of what the struggle is, seemingly, there was a plot or ploy to keep us as producers of raw material, and seemingly we still have not gotten the memo where we need to become producers of also value added products, so that we can then empower ourselves to become agripreneurs, have our own businesses, create our own products, brand our own products, and have our products competing on a global scale as we can find them in various supermarkets or main stores, or on more wholesalers' shelves, and or in the restaurants, or hotels, and other gift shops and stuff like that. So that's the kind of mindset that we're hoping that our people could begin to think and seek to empower ourselves, and with the help, hopefully, of our elected officials and those who they put in the positions to help facilitate these things, we can see some changes in the not too distant future. We're looking forward to the budget reading coming up pretty soon, Banky, and I'm really looking forward to see if there's going to be some significant increases in the budget for agriculture, and what serious plans they have for agriculture. Because for us to reach to the point where we can say, like Guyana, we would have to do some of the things that Guyana did. And one of the things they did was invest heavily. And when I say heavily, heavily, because I think some report was saying, even 400% more than what they usually budget for the agricultural sector. That's what they did, along with other measures that they would have taken to help them to get to the point where they are able to sustain themselves. So, Banky, we got a lot to do.
Well, yes, on this evening, the reason why I chose our guest, Dr. Knife, is because he's also versed when it comes to he's an economist when it comes to speaking about tourism and agriculture, and why tourism, especially large development tourism, is not the way to go when it comes to developing a country. Yes, and you saying something? You make pause, Yes, son. Yes, son. You make pause. I'm not sure. I guess Yasin is on the phone. Yes. Sorry about that. But this evening we want to speak about agriculture, and how agriculture is one of those industry where can definitely move your country forward, instead of these large development, especially when it comes to tourism. I keep saying over the years, tourism is real estate, and it's all about selling land, selling development, and also selling passport. And yes, you may hear me saying over and over and over, this SSZ, this proposed project, is a next big thing, like the prison project. And then you finally hear the gentleman say, he's not going to bring 10,000 libertarians, he's going to bring 10,000 families. That's the key. Families don't mean one person, It don't mean two person. It mean If you add on one more or two more, so you don't see 30,000, 40,000. So you see exactly what I've been saying all the time. Is just, I just want him to admit because his PRO already tell me he's gonna have, because that's what it's really is. It's a residential element. But how can our leaders see the only way to develop this country is to bring in any unlimited amount of people, because that's what the deputy premier said when he was asked by, I gotta big up my boy Young Bingy again, cause I mean keep saying that. When he asked the question, is there a cap between 7 and 10,000? And he proudly answered, no, is unlimited amount. So what I would like to hear is the amount of shares that is given. Because obviously, and we can see these things don't take no rocket scientists. What happened? We have been bamboozled because he all the money is this person and that person, and is into Bitcoin and that. That not faze me. Show me the money. Show me the money. Development cars. He ain't gonna take up his money where he have and do a whole. If you're gonna do this kind of development, me know ain't about no stages. Whole thing one time. So you say you got money. Do it one time no. Everything, excavate everything, do everything one time, so everything complete. But the more you're gonna start to do things in phases, this, you're gonna pass 10, 15, 20 years still going just like 4 seasons, 35 years and still ago. This is the reality. That's why I keep asking, show me the money. Where's the money? He's selling passport. So the premier need to come back out clean now by telling me crap about somewhat when I ask if it's a CBI project. What is somewhat? You know the CBI is set up, not name somewhat. Is either is or it's not. Now when you go into the CBI, it may not have to get you are getting shares. So what is the secrecy about this project? As the gentleman said earlier, he have always been ready to come to the public, but the government said they're not ready yet. And the gentleman said again also, he a buy a plan, but he not tell nobody what he do. Where be CIA, FBI, Feds, me not understand what the secret here, where you hide, where you buy billion. Because how can you come to an island, buy land, and you're lying to the developer, the leader of the country, don't know where nobody asks no question? That don't make no sense. This person buy up all this land, they got through the code system, and nobody gonna ask no something that make no sense with Virgin. From the get-go, I just make my observation, just listen to everybody. But why we're not doing this thing for agriculture? Because I mean, I have family members over there who have land in the area. The same we had proposed to them, let me develop the land for them. But I guess I think I still say on a water out there. Yes, son, you make pan pause. You make pan pause.
Yes, sorry. Saying that, as I listen to what you're saying, right? I am here and I'm thinking, based on what the guy would have said. Now, if he would have started to purchase these lands from way back when and was not telling people, well, at least the persons who he purchased from and or was seeking to purchase from then, he was not sharing what the ultimate goal or plan was. Is it fair to then really try to blame anybody or make a person feel bad about selling their property then when they really didn't even know what the development was? Is it really fair to chastise or to try to bring down
But
anybody for that?
but yes, son, but is his but well I mean so well Miss Daniel said she had asked and they didn't say, they just said development, they didn't really say it was being a situation like this.
Yeah, but okay,
Because
I
those who
mean
speak about it, yes,
that's her. That's her. But I'm not
yes.
necessarily just looking at her. I
No,
know her.
I just mentioned that because here other landowner are also calling. Miss Howard also
Right,
said the same thing, and I hear
right. So
Stuart Living said the same thing. Mr. I hear different people, so I'm not picking out anyone individual. So I'm just
right, and
going
that's
back
what
to
I
where
wanted
he
to
said,
I
which it
wanted
makes
to say.
sense.
Right.
Yes,
So
which
like
what
a
he
lot
said
of these
makes
people
sense.
then, a
Yes,
lot of these people then did not know. So I'm
yes,
sure had they known, it might have been another story. We don't
yes,
know what the scenario was. But then the
of
other
course.
thing again, it's kind of it kind of when you look at these things, Banky, and the thing is, we have a kind of little issue here in Nevis when you start to be intellectual and start to look at things from your own perspective. A lot of people tend to want to label you or brand you, in terms of siding with whatever political party or the
Yes, and
opposition.
that's fine.
No,
That's part of reasoning.
it's not going to change my
Yeah.
position or my view. I'm just saying because it's a reality. But however, when you listen to that, right, and then you analyze, like, even though he said that he did not say who the purpose of seeking to purchase all of these lands, you stop and you analyze though who is the realtor, and then it leaves a number of things for you to question and ask and wonder. You know, I mean, so
No,
it's kind of
you
interesting. A
see,
lot of the things were brought
what
out.
I'm trying to
What
what,
discussion?
what I'm trying to get at, Yasan, is
Mhm.
they keep saying the CBI, whatever it is, enough money now meant no. We have to diversify the economy. That is the key. Me now watch you see who the real estate person is. We're trying to we're trying to diversify the economy. Is this the only way to diversify the economy? Have a CBI project instead of increase agriculture, poultry, what is into increase the marine environment when it comes to having grants available, loans available for fisher folks, farmers, increase their stock, you know what I mean, to build whatever you want to build small factories, to whether you want to do tomatoes, mangoes, whatever it is, diversify the economy in a different way to boost and provide work. Agriculture is one of those ways. That is the purpose of this show this evening, to show why we can't use our land in different way, because the moment you start to sell your land to have, you're going to import 10, 15, 20, 30, 40. There ain't a limited amount of people in this area. In this, why can't that same zone that could have been developed in an agricultural way, or even a whole model way, but by our own people, even if it's not agriculture, but still include some agriculture aspect of it, in a green space, whatever it is. But why couldn't we do the same? Me not get that, because you still use your money. You see what I mean? You're still selling this thing bit by bit, to sell one, to build one, bit by bit. So that's why I'm asking this question, because I know how construction site go. So when I ask this gentleman this question, I know he's not being truthful. What I can see by listening from the first time the Destiny thing video come out, one. The one we released again with when they had at the home at Palm Garden, two. And the one that he did the interview with me, three. You miss something else. Well, all of us miss something. All the questions them that is asked when you answer the question them is the same. This thing is rehearsed, and then how he speaks, you see, he's speaking on behalf of the government in power and making everything seem like is an NRPT, because then they start including my show now as if like the premiere. So you see, everything is not. This is not. We call it the. All of a sudden now, this is just perfect for what it is. When you see things what it is, the guy rehearsed when any question you ask him is the same way. So that's why is rehearsed. The moment you come to rehearse these things, every time you go, you heard him back something, my virgin. I don't have to rehearse nothing to command you. So if you're speaking up full, you don't have to rehearse nothing. You're coming to the people. If you have your right interests, you, that's why we let people speak, you know. Some people might not like me and your interview skills, but the point is we extract information. At the end of the day, it's information you want and results. And the results is there. That's when the gentleman is speaking, and then he gonna go back and he gonna say, and he keep talking about money, money, money. Well, is money is the issue? Is money is the issue? Because it seems like money is the biggest problem. Like I couldn't get it. Why 50 million? Why this? Why that? Everything else, trade money in our face, trade money in our face. I get, Virgin, if you're a bad spender, it doesn't matter how much money somebody give you, you're gonna mess it up. You're gonna get $1 billion, you're gonna mess it up. If you're gonna keep doing project overrun, you're gonna mess it up. It doesn't matter the amount of money you get, you're gonna mess it up. That's just the reality. So if this is our last hope, where we just, I mean, come on, why we not investing in agriculture? Why we not skilling our people? I keep saying those land could have given, whatever you work with the landowners, meet with the landowners. So you know what? We're gonna get 100 acres to Urban Jones. We're gonna give a 50 acres to Yaga. We're gonna give 200 acres to Nawa Lescott, and next 500 to Shiverton. I'm just saying, 20 acres to a next a smaller. whatever, figure it out. And these are the models you're building and whatever, and we did our own town, and you have areas for greenhouses, whatever. Figure it out. We just can't import in any limited amount of people. And then when the gentleman speak, he's speaking on a certain type of people of, I mean, I understand that. I understand like they're talking there. High-end
But
people, I mean, I understand like they're talking there. I mean,
can
come on,
you
clientele.
you cannot blame the guy. The guy is
Me
going
not blame, me
on
not blame nobody, yes,
guy
and
is going
it's our
on
people is the
what
problem. Me not blame the
what is being
gentleman. I'm just saying
posted.
what he says.
Well, when we
Which is
listen
the
to
reason.
Banky, when we listen to our leadership, isn't that where our leader seemingly want to take us? That is sometimes, and this is where I guess the consultation comes in and the lack thereof, because the leader or leaders, the cabinet and the leader may want to present a certain path or scenario for us based on what they think. And they're doing this without consulting with the people to find out if that is what the people really want. So you would always hear, even you will hear the argument when it comes to why are we not thinking of developing a cruise port and seek to, garner more cruise passengers. And you would hear the pushback that, that is not what we are thinking of. We are thinking of more of a high-end sort of tourism and market, and we're looking for the yachts and the more medium size but more.
Okay, all right, yes, son.
Mhm.
Let's look at this development. Start construction, beginning, materials coming in. You need stone, sand, sand, lot of stones. You know what I mean? Quarry got to be running 20. Depend, you're gonna build for the first phase, say 50 to 60 villas straight. Not no one. You want you want at least 30 of them a start. Want a serious construction site at its most. That's how you want to do it. So you're trying to aim to done 50 within a year and a half, within that time frame, and you're going straight on. Okay, the resources is there, which means you don't start to sell passport then, because you're selling passport because you're looking clients. So upon even before you start to construction and everything saying you don't start. So who gonna be the agent for these selling this stuff when it comes to just like you have the prison project and stuff like that. But how much shares? The key is the gentleman say 10,000 families, because I know that's what the young lady told me. It's gonna be over 10,000 people living in there, but I cannot say the amount because there is no cap. That's the whole point I wanted to make. That's why I cannot say a total number
Right.
because unlimited amount, Virgin. That's why I asked this question. You see what I mean? Because he have no, oh, it's no, he's not have no cap. So which means if you're gonna be selling passport into the CBI and you're gonna be getting a unit, there's a minimum a unit cost, and there's also a minimum when you're going to say you're going to affordable homes. That part I didn't get that affordable for who? Because remember everything in there is high end, and then you realize where he put in everything is and security. Remember, wealthy people need protection. Wealthy people need protection. This no make no sense, Virgin. This no make no sense. You check, and you cannot always comparing the business place in Dubai, however in Monaco, and those places, and then compare this to Four Season development. This have development have nothing to do with Four Season. Four Season does not have 2,000 people living down there all year round, and not even 1,000, not even 500, not even 300 all year round. And the premier is being misingenuous by using that model as a Four Season model, and it's not. This is a model of a home, we're calling them home association for the wealthy, the super rich from all over the world. You don't know who they be. You don't, you see what I mean? I don't have an issue with the growing of the growing development of the island, because the country, I see the island grow, for instance, I mean, primary school, through high school, and to an adult. So I see the different diversification of the different Caribbean countries living on the island now. You know what I mean? 30 plus years later after you finish high school and stuff like that. We see this stuff. We see our Caribbean and we see our people from all over the world, India and in the US and Canada, all kind of people is living on navies now. We know it. When we're going on Pinnis Beach with all the coconut trees from Pinnis Beach all out in the water. We know the little one tourist was coming around on Polynesia boat and all these different stuff like we don't know. We always been here. So when the premier too, so he know these things. So when our people have lost themselves, and when you have a decision like this to be made to have a development, to a CBI development too, because I want to stick to the CBI, because I've been saying the CBI development. So now I hear it for myself, you guys don't be necessarily time. Because I see it, because I've realized all these large development, everybody who have come here to invest, they're not gonna money. And the Christoph Harbour, the Kiddishon Hill, all these different development have evidence is there. They all coming to use our money. And this development is not different than it. Same thing. They come to use the money. So how our premier and how our prime minister is not taking the CBI money to develop agriculture. We have a pepper project they're talking about. Samuel came here and he spoke about the project of the hot pepper thing. They cleared 300 acres of land, and if you see the same land now, it go back up a bush. They clean and plow 300 acres of land for hot pepper, and it go back up a bush. The same thing in navies where they clean and next 40, 60 acres to do the circumference Indian castle. Go back up a bush. So you know, see the two governments have something in common. This the same what you know, look at the same thing when it comes to the poultry thing. Look at Bastia High School. Look at the 600 homes every year, 2,400 homes.
No.
What you say?
You can't say that. You can't say that about the you can't say that about the poultry and St. Kitts because the hatchery is already exporting chicks to different.
I compare the poultry with the Bastia High School. You can't tell me to compare it with.
Okay.
Me not compare hatchery with hatchery, you know? me compare.
I
What we want to compare with.
My bad. I thought you were looking at.
No, me not match for match. Me a match with. You match it.
You're muted. You're muted, Banky.
Yes, sorry about that. I mean, sometimes this thing you do the want, you know. No, if you have to match agriculture to agriculture, still come back in a queries because you realize the same thing. The investment with the feed, now the government going back into selling the feed because you realize you're drive up the cost of feed. For these are just, you're not really thinking these things through. You see what I mean? But you really got to, if you're going to diversify the economy, we must got to invest in agriculture. When we say agriculture, we mean the fisher folks, in those in large ruminants, small ruminants, those into greenhouses. We have greenhouse project in St. Kitts going on, and not one of the greenhouses up. You spoke to the minister about these greenhouses, and if anyone was listening there, you would think the greenhouse them down there produce thousands and thousands of pounds of food. You would not believe, not even one. But the minister, if you can erect 21 times, brethren, if you get 3 up, 1 is better than 0. 2 is better than 0. 3, if you have 6 of them and under production, how much food you produce? By not doing not even 1, I'm going to say, oh, wait to do all. It don't make no sense. But it don't make no sense. You got to get the production up. So even 1 greenhouse would make a big difference. So by having 20 greenhouse sitting there for over a year and nothing doing, who you gonna blame? Somebody gonna be blamed for this thing because what we are doing now is selling out our land, encouraging large scale development. Because what's gonna happen now in the Virgin, and me say it now, you know, the people and thinking have to realize they're gonna get a big project too, you know. And when the project come and say they're gonna bring in a 650 to 100 or 100 to 200,000 people, and they're gonna how much shares they're gonna sell in 50,000 shares. What they're gonna say?
But Banky,
it's gonna happen. I see it happening.
As we analyze this a little bit deeper, and even from the agricultural side, this should have been an opportunity for the government to say, well, okay, if they're so serious about bringing this project to fruition, they should have been looking deeply as you think about agriculture and look at the fact that if you're going to be bringing in another 10,000 people, these 10,000 people are going to need food to eat, and you are already not able to sustain those who you have here. What are you saying then? You're going to increase the importation? You're going to be really seriously importing, or you're going to start to acquire lands if necessary to set aside for agricultural development, because one of the issues being faced by small farmers and even persons, younger farmers who don't have lands yet and are interested in getting into agriculture, they are being told that that lands are not available. And so, if we're not serious about being able to improve our agricultural sector, and that is why I started off by saying, Banky, I am looking forward to the budget for one thing mainly this year, out of that budget, to see if there's some
What
serious increases in
do you expect?
agriculture and the funding for agriculture. I
Okay,
would I
so
would
what you want?
expect I would expect that they would put in an extra
I
couple $1 million. Um,
so expect so
you know,
what budget you expect to have agriculture? Or what number you're trying to hear? The million poor number. What number you trying to hear? Between one.
between a 50 to a $200 million, you know what I mean, set aside for agriculture.
But it's be a late moment.
You're gonna be feeding. You're gonna be
I just being I be comic out right now. That's
no,
which is it?
no. I want us to get to the point where we could be like Guyana, where we could sustain ourselves. That we
Yes,
can,
sir. No, now so again, what is
uh-huh.
the budget you expect on a serious level coming out of this sixth, which is next week? What is budget? A reasonable budget you're trying
Okay,
to hear?
so what was the last budget there for agriculture? May remember what they had. So let me see if I can make a
Let me put
comparison.
it. Yeah, behind the 15.
Under 15,
Yeah,
like seriously, that's the
yeah.
kind of money
So
that agriculture getting right now.
call a number. There you go.
I mean, I know to say no then by.
What do you mean to say?
Well, if you under
Me tell the call
15,
a number.
I didn't expect the budget for agriculture to be under $15 million. And
What
you
is
got
supposed
two
what you
hundred
got me?
million dollars for bill. You have a $200 million for bill, and you're telling me that your agriculture budget is less than $15 million?
You're funny.
Like seriously?
Even social even social development budget is higher than agriculture. You didn't know agriculture is the lowest budget budget. You didn't know that? You're not pay attention. Not even
I guess
thinking
that's
budget is 50 million. We're talking about you're mad
I
hour.
guess that's I guess that's why the option is to sell out the land then.
That's the problem.
You feel
That's
like
the
you're gonna use
problem.
the land and you can't occupy the land.
Okay.
What
Look
I
at
don't
this again,
understand
right?
what I'm saying.
Look at this again. Every
Mm.
year, most of the years, the government land and housing keep encroaching on government and agricultural lands under all governments. And they just take the land. Me can't say money not pass, me no, but me no know about money a pass. But if money, it's not even say the part they pay for the land in some of the guys government or whatever they work it out. Well, some of the money should invest back into agriculture. Because they took out 20 acres one time out of Madden, the next 20 acres, and next 10 acres, that 40 acres. You see what I mean? Well, how come the money now go back into the agricultural sector with better breeds of cows, breeds of goat? How you take all these, if you take 40 acres of land, it mean it got a value to the land. So land and housing not pay for the land. How that work? How they sell the land back to the homeowners and all these things. You see where I'm coming from? So if you're going to take this land for housing, it means some money must be fed back into the agricultural sector, whether it's through greenhouses, through fishing, through boats, loans, access for fisher folks to get larger boats and all these things so they can invest in freezers and difference because Virgin, the same thing when it comes to those into the value added chain. You need machineries and storage is a key. If you're going to improve our agricultural sector, because right now I'm planting tomatoes, and my plan is when I have my tomatoes in abundance, I'm gonna make tomato jam. I'm not gonna let enough tomatoes go to waste because my uncle
Okay.
man said don't being around him. I see how he make tomato jams and stuff like that. I just make sure I get some coal because it's gonna take long to do. You see what I mean? Because tomatoes spring out of water, so the more you think you're bubbling, and more water spring, so you have to get out all the moisture. So I know if we go use coal and get a coal pot or whatever a carry make a coal and do it on the outside instead of using the gas. But that is what I don't have my thing planned ahead. You see what I mean? But I'm gonna need jars and all in different stuff to bottle it and so forth. So I'm done planning my stuff ahead. I do have a lot of noni cheese. I've got to take the nonis, put them in a glass jar and strain it. and all. The point, what I'm trying to show you, the value added, you still need resources. Anyone you ask in the agricultural sector is finance, 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 wherever it is finance. Because it's just like, and it's all about consistency. You see what I mean? Look at Paris Leafy Green. You think young Chris couldn't do a next 10 greenhouses? So boy, what you see the man doing good? By what you mean, put some money aside, the man can get access to $10 million and then give him a grace period of 3 years before he start back at interest. Nothing gonna be over a $1,500 a month or whatever. Then man gonna start about the money within the first 3 months. If you understand, once the machine is the building is up, that's what farmers will do once the money is there. But you're not giving farmers, the banks are not giving farmers no grace period. Farmers taking a loan, they start about the money next month. But when these
So,
big investment come here, we like keep like failing. Christoph Harbour, we give them the money easily. But why is that? Look how this project come here and you give them a CBA it's a CBA project. It's a CBA project and the premium running around the bush. No one says a CBA project. What I want the premier and the prime minister to tell me how much shares it gonna take to do this development.
but
Then we go here.
they can't tell you, the developer telling you
Well,
he
let us
can't
say,
integrate how much
well, let
the
us say it's
developer.
unlimited amount of shares. Well, let us say we're gonna start off whatever. Let us say it's unlimited amount of shares. Just let's sell till the island sink. So
But
how
but
no? So how the right natives don't see nothing wrong with this when nobody can tell you they don't know how much people will at least demand say 10,000 families. So families you can do the equation where if you want to use one child or 2 children minimum, you don't have 40,000 people. 40,000 people.
and that only one
This
development.
is
Remember, and that is only
one
one zone.
development.
I remember
Okay.
there's no limit. There's no limit to no cap
All right.
and how much lands that they could get.
Okay.
How could our elected officials sit down and honestly want to kind of bring these kind of things to people who have come out of people who are still landless and who the government are still referring to as squatters. I mean, I'm hearing government officials referring to landless people who should have, everybody should have been given at least an acre of land. We still have lands, and some of these lands we want to capitalize as crown lands. I mean, then the other day there was this talk about some lands that the government found using some kind of means and realizing that there were some lands that were there were no titles for the lands, and instead of seeking to reach out to people or find ways and means of putting information out there so that people can come forward if they do own these lands or have any whatever, they just put them under land and housing and say they're going to swap them out with the developers. I mean,
But that's
like
why you say ask the premier.
you listen
That's
to
what you say
these
as the
things.
premier when it comes to swapping those land, yes, and why can't those land be used for the locals them for other means, whether it's agriculture, whether it's for housing? Why you gotta swap? That's the whole point. You find land that the local will use or whatever it is, whatever lease and farming,
But if
and
you
they're
really
gonna
care
put
for
them into the
people,
zone.
Anki, if you really care for your people, why not seek to find out who the lands them are? We know how lands are. So then that means the government functioning like a kind of thief then. Where I mean by find some land we no, nobody claim them about, so we're gonna just take them without saying,
If
okay,
some
let's give the people an opportunity to come forward, and if they're anybody and they can claim and so on, they make their claims. And then if that didn't happen, then you say, well, okay, well, we put it out in the paper, we put it out wherever, and whatever they had to do. It went on for a couple of months or whatever the case may be. Nobody came forward, and so now we do this. These are some of the things that I kind of look at, from my perspective. I mean, seek to analyze these things as I look at things. I see a comment here, Banky said that last year the
yes.
agricultural budget was 17 million, so he actually went over 15. So it was actually 17.
Well,
I would say double it,
okay,
Banky.
good.
I would say double it for at least. So I would say, if you're really serious
Uh-huh.
about agriculture, then at least double it. Let's, I mean, double it for that and
So
double it if
so
if
you
you
want
really,
34. So you want 34
yeah,
million.
yeah,
So you're gonna
and
do the
double it.
34 million. What you gonna do? So what would you do with the money?
What we're gonna do
What
with
would
the
you do
money?
with 34 million?
So you have
If you're the minister.
you have the agricultural sector right now to look at.
Remember
So
the wage bill in there, no. Take out the wage, so take out at least eight or so million for your wage bill in the car. You have to include the wage bill in that, eh? Your
and that might
workers them. So,
depending on what you're gonna do, right? So let's say 10.
yes.
Let's say you got the 8, so you take out the 10, you're left back with 24. And now, well,
Okay. So you're going to
first up, we gotta see to revive the Indian Castle Archer, because that's a food security, priority.
How you get that
That's for
done?
sure. How we
How
gonna
that
get
one
it
get
done?
done? 2 years. This next month make 2 years, and
We hire
nothing to do.
we hire Banky on a contract basis and get Banky, make sure Banky
Yeah,
get
but
whatever
but you
we
have
want to make it done.
but you have
Make
people
some time to
there
make it
who is
happen.
manage it. You have people there manage it with bachelors and people in the department with masters and
Right.
stuff like that.
Look,
Why that not happening?
I don't know about that, but
We
I'm
having a
telling you,
reasoning. No, 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 no,
you
no, no,
asked
no, no,
me.
no. You can't say you don't know about that, yes, because we're talking about production, we're talking
Hold
about
on,
responsibility. We
hold
speak, so
on.
you cannot say you don't know
You
about that.
asked me.
We talk about
You, you
yes.
asked what I would do if I was a minister. Me, the minister right now, so me don't know what's going on with that. So I'm telling you what I would do
I got
if
you.
I was in that
My bad.
position. So whoever
All
there
right,
or
my bad.
whatever they're gonna be
Yes,
doing or whatever they're doing right now is not working. So my thing
yes,
now to fix it is this. This is what I'm suggesting. You were there and you had it
yes.
happen. You made it happen. So I ain't got to go out to find somebody to contract somebody from somewhere out in the world to bring them to say, well, to make this happen. You're here. So all I have to do is renegotiate with you, figure out what you want to make it happen. If you're willing to do it again, and whatever you ask for, I still to do it to make it happen, and that's phase one, right? So that is how I would deal with some of that. In terms of, I would like to also alter that budget, set aside, as you spoke about the funding, set aside maybe a $4 or $5 million just for small farmers who may want to improve their business, or if they want to upgrade, get into a more technical side of it, and or if they want to um, expand into agro-processing. So let's say a farmer is growing, let's use sorrel, and he's growing sorrel and he plans to do it on a consistent basis. He's supplying X, Y, and Z, but he wants to now take it to the point where he can help to um, create a market for himself, and he maybe start making sorrel jam. He or she, as agriculture is not gender biased. So he or she might decide, okay, well, I'm going to get into making sorrel jam, so that way now I don't have any wastage, because any extra I have, I can now turn it into this value added product that I'm going to brand and I'm going to put out there, and I'm going to compete with the other big brands that are out there. So that's some of what I would do with that kind of funding. Also, in terms of training and development of cooperatives, and have the farmers organized in such a way that we're not just the farmers, also invest in the agro processing and the marketing side, so that they can really see the true potential, so we can create that avenue where we could have the farmers farming, and you're set in that way that you can take the off take. So they may have the contract with whoever, but whatever extra surplus they may have, you should be able to take that, process it into whatever it is, and help to get it into wherever else you need to get it to, so that the farmers could just, those who might not necessarily want to get into the business side of things, they can just focus on farming, and and we get into that aspect of development. So those are some of the things that I would want to see improved, and I would like to see, so that we can get our products, the value-added products now, in more of the supermarkets, more of the stores, and even in other closer territories, whether it's St. Martin, St. Bart's, Stacia, Montserrat, things like that. And maybe
Yeah, but
if they have a destiny,
if
yes.
what?
I said maybe if they have a
If
destiny, I have to say
Okay,
if,
that's a
because
late
remember,
moment. That's a
yeah,
late
not
moment right now.
saying
That's a
yes,
late that's a late
if.
moment. Okay, if you're gonna be doing all these things, rule number one, we must have to up with standards if you're gonna be thinking about improving our agriculture and sector when it comes to agro processing and all and different stuff. It mean we have to definite and a Bureau of Standard had put out something weird at the end of this year. Anything you'll be selling juices or jams, they have to be proper labeled and all this different stuff. So that's you have to set a standard. Because when you have
Yes.
tourists coming, anyone you're buying us a local drink, well, in my kanji, what did you be? Guava or golden apple? Well,
Well, you
guava,
see,
golden apple.
you
So
didn't hear that part because you left for a minute because I did spoke to her. They said I was talking about like the person who
good, no
making the
problem.
jam that
Of
they actually have to
course. Yeah.
brand it and label it. You know what I mean, so that it meets
Yes.
that kind of level that it can go into whether it's store and
Yes.
compete with any other top brand that is out there, whether it's Grace, whether it's whoever it is out there. You should be at that level with your product that it is competitive with those other international or regional brands that's out there. So
Well,
yes,
once you're going to reach international, you're going to need, because I've traveled with the federal government. I was one who went with the technical officer with Southern University and Avery Island to the Tabasco SARS company. And I sat with, when we were about, when we started our meeting, they had two, so we finished our meeting with two FDA officers, and they happened to stay to be a part of the meeting. And all they cry is, we want to do business with you guys. We need to get your guys product up here. We can come down. We can do all the training. The funding is already. You just got to reach out. And it's just to ask in the Virgin. It's just to ask, but it's coming. Nobody asks. You see? So the sector is not hard, my Virgin. It's the people who are managing the sector. Because when you hear people asking you and they're going to come down to train your people how to get up your jams, your local teas, your local soils, whatever is dried, whatever is fresh, whatever it is, your bananas. If the FDA tell you they're willing to come down, is not you're not spend no money. They're gonna come and, well, how come you're not ask? If you're going to be encouraging people to grow more food, you must have dry storage. You must have latter chilled, and you must need somebody who understands managing temperatures of food and harvesting of food, post harvest and pre harvesting. You must have a structure in place, and where when it comes to after food is and the food is on a chill for a certain amount of time, how you're going to start use those things now into processing units when it comes to process, because you start losing the shelf life. You must have a train of commands going down. That's if you're going to do this thing right. You must, if I still having bananas, you're having bananas. It means you must have a budget with a cash flow where when you take farmers take their stuff there, you pay them for their stuff, because farmers, when you take a one bunch of banana or 10 lettuce, you want to pay for 10 lettuce. You don't want to come back 2 weeks later or 3 weeks later. Pay the people for them things. These are the reality. I see it work. You must have the government. You can't find J plane. You,
so
you can't
that's
have.
why you
You
want to
can't
get the budget. That's why you want to get the budget like that, banky, so you could have money set aside to make sure that them things are well taken care of.
but why not happen? We're talking about 30 years later. Why not happen? This supposed to happen 30 years before. I shouldn't have to come here, Virgin, where my uncle done transition. You understand? And my grandparents them done the farming, and then I come in now as a fourth generation of farm and have to go implement these things, or why these things not work? Why these things not working in this time of I mean, come on. This don't make no sense, my Virgin. This is like we're talking about the inner comma changing the constitution. All we see is selling with lands. And Virgin, if you want to see your farm, go up on the top of Kittition Hill and just stop up there and just look over and go down into Basti and look up by Bird Rock and then look over by Aston Nevis and look over. Go straight across over Sandy Point area, Brimstone Hill. I could remember when I could count the lights and them going across them areas there. You understand? 30 years ago, as a youth in a primary school and high school, I could have count the light them and sink it. Sink it is a Christmas tree. Nevis is a Christmas tree too. Both islands become a Christmas tree because there's lights all over and when it comes to development, which is good. But our agricultural sector, we are growing with people, but we're importing more food. And this is just not a St. Kitts and Nevis issue. It's a Dominica, it's a Jamaica issue. You understand? This is not is a Guyana issue. But the other Caribbean country, our food import bill is way, way, way too much. It's the same issue in Antigua. St. Vincent, we import the food, too much of food. But not saying Guyana import a lot of processed food, So nothing they don't import no food, The local production is what they can feed themselves. When it comes to importation of all these processed food, oh, they're there. Just like us, the supermarket the same way. But we're speaking about the local production of food and fish and stuff like that. But Guyana import millions and millions of water food. Not lose yourself with that. So let's not get taken away and think Guyana not importing any food. The importation of when it comes to self is about feeding yourself because of the coconut and the vegetable industry itself. But when it comes to the processed food of no man, they import millions upon millions, like any other Caribbean country, same way. So it shows, Yasan, our leaders are fooling us. If you want to see the Minister of Agriculture, I'll tell you, instead of talking about agriculture, developing agriculture, he encouraging importation of large residence development instead of finding ways of diversifying agriculture and find resources where farmers can have. Because the same chicken industry, you ain't hear, even I speak to the premier here when it comes to allocation of funding. So small farmers, small acts, single parents can find a way for 300, 500 chicken. Not even that is in place. Those things are not in place. You might pause.
In our society, right? And maybe not just in our society alone, but generally, let's like try to simplify it. If me and you living right now, right? How we're living right now. If we find ourselves, we've tried a number of things and it ain't work out, whether it's career wise or whatever it is, and you reach to that point where you ain't making any money, you have to sell out whatever it is that you're gonna sell out to try to, whether it's take care of your debts and keep yourself alive. The last thing you would look to sell is your land. That's the last. That's like your last. That would be like your last resort. So if our elected officials are at that point where they're seeking to tell us that the best thing that can save us right now is for us to sell out our lands, then it means that they have failed us. They have totally failed us, and we can see the failure in we moved from agriculture to a tourist-oriented society, and we realize that that's a shaky, a flimsy industry, though it is still active and it is still bringing in revenue, so to speak. It is a shaky industry. We moved on to offshore banking, here on Nevis especially. That became a risky industry again. We moved on to citizenship by investment, and we see what is happening there. So at this point, it seems as if, well, they have tried everything, they have failed, and this is the last hope. And their last hope is like what you call desperation, when you reach to that point, because it's only when you get to that point, from an individual standpoint, that one would look to sell their lands. So if you have gotten to that point, that means you're well desperate
But
and have
Yasan,
failed
if
miserably.
if you are a developer and you're telling me this place here have the highest crime rate in the world, and people of certain stature who are wealthy want to live in a place that are safe, but yet this place is the most dangerous place in the world. But why would you want to invest here for? That is just not being honest. This is because then you're speaking about now your security. That so what kind of security is this that is most have more training than our police force and our military? What kind of security are you talking about? You're gonna get inside there then? I'm trying to maybe a militia. I'm trying to understand because if you're talking about we have such high crime rate, it means you're gonna protect these people in such a way. Where is what? So why invest here? So that don't make no sense. So using crime as a way to say or to downplay that we have a high crime rate was not a good was not a good sell. You see what I mean? Cause people gonna use crime just so we see the point of cameras around navies, but and monetary they tend to use crime when they want to get away and get you up doing things. You see
Not
what I
to
mean?
you, and it might not be a good sell to you, but to the audience who he may be targeting, it might be. Remember he's telling them, that he's going to be creating a society or a community where they will be safe there. That is what he's marketing.
Oh,
So what he's saying, I guess the Western
for the
Navies will be
Nivision,
the Western
the
Navies and
Nivisions
the
them who
West.
gonna live in there, you mean? The
Well,
Nivision who
if,
live in the for homes, the affordable homes for the Nivision gonna live inside there. That's what you're
all
talking
of them,
about.
all of them going to be extra secured. They wouldn't have to worry about what we have to worry about out here.
But yes, and but if it's if it's a CBI project and you're already a citizen and he's selling passport, me not understand that. But how Nivision going in they gonna live? And that they're gonna be different. There are certain section for themselves.
No, that's a very special zone that you're gonna be in. Very special zone that you're gonna be in. But you see, I like the fact that we can reason out these things and help people to really analyze this thing. I see a comment in here say very forward. Right? And out
No.
of order, as you would say in Jamaica, Um
But remember two things, Yasan. You're gonna get a
Thank you.
$30 sign-on bonus and you're gonna get $100 sign-on bonus right away. So you're getting $130. It's two set of money you're getting now. You get
Mhm.
$100. Is your government giving you any money right now? A month time? You getting any money? I know you have to get. Are you getting the money a month time? Because once the project
No.
starts, you'll be getting 130. You'll be getting 130
But then
every
again,
month.
Banky. Then again, and even with
Yes.
this thing where they say you're gonna get this amount based on the profit shares.
The profit done there. That the
Hold
profit
on.
already. The $30 was the profit already.
When you
The
do
profit
when you
done
do a
make already,
business, when you do a business and you make investments and so on, sometimes it takes a very long time for you to even really break even.
Yeah.
Right? So then
Yes, and the profit done there already. The man
what
said
if
the
all
profit done
20
there use it
years
on profit.
what if all 20 years from now when the book show that they ain't making no profit? Because you could remember you're only gonna get this for the profit. It's not necessarily
Mm-hmm.
you get a percentage off of the investment. You become a 15%, you got 20% share in Destiny. You're getting 20%, you've been promised, sorry, 20% out of the profit and 5% out of the profit for the local individuals and so. But I guess again, Banky, I keep saying these guys would have came
But
to
remember, until the
those.
profit. Remember, until the
Mhm.
profit, you can't spend half of the profit going into a sovereign fund where you set up the developers gonna have a group, a board with along with the government where they're gonna tell you how to spend the money. Remember, the 10% going there, you're only gonna use the interest to spend, and you can't spend the money how you want. Cause they have to dictate how you're gonna spend the interest. So, say if you make $10. $5 going into the sovereignty fund, and then the interest after the $5 they put in, that's what you can use. But the board have to determine if you're going to be approved and stuff like that. So the government still
Another
going to be
comment,
controlled by,
another
huh?
comment here says, it's a red flag when an investor is overselling like that. It is not right. Why not structure something where retail investors invest and get a return? Um, I was saying too, even before retail investors, why you want to swap out the lands for the people over there? Why not? Since you already own a certain amount, why not seek to work with the landowners who are there and seek to help? If you really so care about them and care about them, improving and the area improving and so on, why don't you work with them and partner with them in some way so that there's benefit so that you can rise and they can rise. You can benefit from the project and the local landowner and so on could also develop and, and,
Is
and
not to
get.
make you rich. This project is not to make you rich as a landowner, to partner to make you rich, to make you millionaires. No, this is not. If that is not
Yeah,
for,
but then
for, for that to do.
you ain't really care about me. You care about whatever
Of course, yes,
objectives
and
you
yes,
have.
yes, and of course, yes, and of course, I'm a Nivision. We're talking about. I love Nevis. You're talking about? What are you
And
saying?
you've been living there for 8 years, right? And you have a passport.
Yes, of course.
Yes,
Of course,
right.
yes.
Yes.
Remember,
I
remember,
just,
Yasan,
yes,
when
I'm a bit
you
slow
make you forget.
sometimes. So thanks for reminding me. Yes.
Okay, then. You see, that is the problem that we're having here, Yasan. We're really gonna have to tighten up our constitution and really rewrite our. You can't tell me tomorrow you come make an investment by with a property or whatever and get a passport, and because you have a passport or and said you're a citizen, you can buy any unlimited amount of land. You
But
understand? Any
Banky,
limited amount of land, you know. And
Banky,
our people who say they
you,
love navies, the natives, them, you know, Yasan. No say nothing wrong with these things, yeah.
look, your officials sneakingly run in the house and create a SSZ act that facilitates this, that puts them in the position where they are the ones that have the final say. Because remember, at the end of the day, you know, this thing here to sign
Okay.
off and this thing here, you ain't got to go through no planning and whoever and all of these things right at this stage, you know. That will be after you sign off. And right now, is the premier have a say, and then the premier will pass it on to the prime minister, and then the prime minister say yeah. So right now, everything is technically in the prime minister hand, you know, because remember, after this guy would have already said that he don't want to have to deal with this after the new year, into the new year. And shortly after he said that on our program, the premier had his press conference, and the premier said also that he wanted to get this done before the end of the year as well. And
So
so
this is
this
an
is a rush.
ultimatum. So this is an
Yeah,
ultimatum.
and we have to. I guess we have 30 something days if you really want to protest, or if you really want to show your displeasure, or you don't want this or whatever it is. You as the
But
masses
what
would
is
have
the
to
rush?
of doing
But
that.
what is the rush? What is the rush? But you
I don't
see,
know what it
this
was,
project,
but the
this
guy.
project, you know, let's say this project happens. Let's say this project happen, and and we are seeing this thing. We have in the first year, this within 3 years' time, you have an insurge of 3,000, 4,000 people. We already talking about boy, traffic so tight. We may go to work for 8 o'clock. You understand?
Mm,
When 1,500 people come up from sinking a Juve man in time, every cultural armor, you are supposed to the crowd, you know. So what
mm.
gonna happen? We're making nice and say, well, the female keeps saying, well, you see, bringing out kind of putting out kind of cars and all kind of this and the park up to the side of the road. So when the next 4,000 people keep going up, but how much vehicles more gonna get imported? How
Banky,
much? Oh,
Banky,
huh?
you remember these people are
Uh-huh.
high-end people. And so these people are not going to be buying the cheap Japanese cars that's going to break down on the side of the road. These people are going to be bringing in vehicles, and they're going to have the most top-of-the-line vehicles. So their vehicles are
I'm
not
not
going
talking
to
about the
be.
type of vehicle. I am not talking
Well,
about the type of vehicle. I'm talking about the traffic we are going to be dealing with. And when you hear making this, it's about the traffic when you go by the schools, you know, what's going to happen? Because remember, these people now not going to stay in the zone. They'll be coming out driving around the place. So what's
by
going to
that
happen to
time,
the traffic?
by that time, they're gonna have flying cars and they're gonna have their high tech technology.
I will
They're not
play.
gonna
So
have
this
any
is a comedy
impact.
show.
They're gonna have any impact on us. I
So
remember they're
this is a
gonna have
comedy
their
show.
own renewable energy, and so they're gonna have their own electric vehicles and whatever it is over there in the
Okay.
zone.
In the
Yeah,
zone. So,
in the
so that when the
zone.
John just drive on, or the not drive come out the
Maybe
zone.
it's small. So I mean, like
So
most
where
of
are the
those
food?
companies, when they charge up the car at
No.
home, the car won't be able
Uh-huh.
to hold the power for the rest of the day. When they're ready to
Okay.
charge back, they go back in the zone until you all get set up like that and you all have your e-charging stations around the island and so on, you know?
So now we're speaking about agriculture. So where 15,000 people gonna get food from?
We're gonna have
We
our
are so
own.
which mean,
Remember,
but
remember,
yes,
we are going to.
but
Remember,
the
we're
food
gonna get
import bill is already 200,000,
Banky.
$200 million. So we get up to 500 million.
No, we are gonna be getting
And then
our.
okay, well,
We're gonna have 12 miles of your ocean, so we're gonna build our own port, and we're gonna be able to bring in our own food tax free. Cause remember, it's gonna be a tax free zone, so we wouldn't have those kind
who
of
said
issues with you all, like you all.
we mean
Come
tax free?
on,
Where you get tax
it's
free
ta-
things from?
it's gonna be a tax free zone. It's a special economic zone. It's where
No,
special
in our tax
sustainable
free.
zone.
No,
It's
no,
not
no,
gonna be
no,
tax.
no, no.
It's gonna be tax
No,
free. We're gonna be
no.
tax. Yes.
Yes, what?
Watch it. Remember, Banky, if you go back to the SSZ bill or act, it says that this group or these group or developers would be given special what you call them concessions, even extra concessions that they would have given to regular developers. These developers are going to get even more, and it is left
Yeah,
up
but
to the discretion of the prime minister and the premier,
yes.
not necessarily the cabinet. Them.
So you're answering up in the VAT. They're trying to tell me. That's what you're trying to tell me. They're not in the VAT. So how they gonna buy the house? How they gonna buy the condos them? So what the money gonna pay? Now they see what we're
Well,
talking
whatever.
about with the
When it comes to the
CBI.
condos, no, when it comes to the condos and those kind of things, whatever taxes the
Uh,
government is supposed to get from those.
well,
But
yeah.
in terms of
Well,
commodity, just like over Port Zante, where they will be able
mm-hmm.
to bring in things tax free. If you live in the zone, then you'll be able to not have to
Yes.
pay the tax. But if you come from outside of the zone, like me and you go over there to shop and so on, you maybe have to show your ID like you do at Port Zante. And if
So
you're not,
all the money on your make. So all the money make off of what? Just the CBI. So all the money
yeah.
make you be making off of just selling the passport.
And remember, you're getting maybe you're gonna get $10 million for 5 years, and you're gonna get $50 million,
Who?
and plus you're getting your
Who and
twenty
get that?
percent. The
Who get 10
government, the
million dollars?
government,
Me?
the
10
government.
million, you
When
know the
you
money. Then the money. Then the money, yes, son. We don't do $10 million a year.
me and you know that's not
That can't
money,
finish
but
hospital.
to the government, seemingly it is, because that's
Uh-huh.
what they're ain't that what they come in and tell us. The guy told us that too. But our leaders have
Yes.
been telling us that. That is what they've been telling us, that these guys said that they're gonna give us $10 million for the next 5 years. We're gonna get $50 million, and we're getting 20% of their profits, and 10% is going to go into a sovereign fund, and then the people can get a 5% off of it. That is what we have been sold.
What profit?
That we ain't know that they're gonna make yet, because we ain't know if they're gonna ever make a profit. But whatever it is,
How much
that's what they said.
yes, sir. Rule number one.
So the
Whatever
government, and that's what
project you're doing, as I asked the gentleman, whatever project you're doing, you must be able to tell me what the capacity you're trying to hold. You must have a minute by I can squeeze in a 50 to 100,000 people maximum when I'm done. If I can spread it out, I might be able to reach 40,000, 50,000, which I way want. Because I just can't remember. That's why I asked him the question in a virgin. What is the capacity you're trying to fill within that land space? So if you're trying to get in 10,000 families, question and answers. So how much shares it take to get in 10,000 families? Because depending on the CBI to run the project, to fund the project. So why the premier have been hiding behind and saying and don't want to come out and say it's a CBI project? How much shares it is?
But
Because
you see,
right there, yes.
Banky, right there is where and why we are having some of the issues that we are having, because a lot of this was shrouded in a lot of secrecy. The premier was asked on a town hall meeting about it. He says just rumors. Then a couple of days after, you hear they gone in the house to seek to pass this, and then it was rushed through the house. Um, we first reading, couple days, or maybe 2 weeks, and then bam, bam, second and third reading, pass. It's only then later on people start to question this thing, and you know what I mean. They thought it probably would have been a 9-day issue where people talk about it for 9 days and forget about it. But then the destiny thing came out, the land, and people keep pressuring and talking, and so it became an issue. But that was not the intent. The intent was for this thing to just happen, and y'all just be happy that y'all are gonna get some jobs. 'Cause remember, that's what they're telling you. We're gonna sell out your land. Sell out your land, yeah. We're gonna make sure you get jobs, 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 and that is what our elected officials are supposed to be doing for us, creating jobs for us. We're not supposed to just wait for a development to come in to you know. You should have been thinking of empowering us, whereby these people thinking about doing this thing, help you get some business set up that you could have your own agro processing company, or your own agro processing business, or your own farm to supply whoever, whether it's the Destiny or any other development that is coming in, or even the present scenario that we have, because we have a scenario where we can't feed ourselves. And so why not seek to acquire some of these lands or put up some of these lands into projects where there's 100 acres of avocado and you start to make avocado oil, and put avocado oil on the market. You know what I mean? You know, some of the large scale crop, you got mango. Nobody really have no mango orchard, but we have a mango festival, right? Why not seriously get into some serious mango processing so we could have mango pulp all year round and mango products all year round and have mango products that we're shipping to different parts of the world. These are some of the things that we could be doing with our lands that these same people who had our lands occupied use the lands to do that. You know, when we stop and think back of during the transatlantic slave era, it was the lands that these same Europeans used to empower themselves and enrich themselves. They used the lands and grow coconut and grow bananas and grow sugar cane. And then what they did is what we are still falling in the trap to do, is just grow the raw produce. They shipped it to Britain or whatever, and then sell us back the finished product. So they took the sugar cane and then they send back the sugar to us to help poison us, to help give us our kind of high blood, diabetes and our kind of thing, because the cane juice doesn't give you diabetes. It's actually very good for diabetes. But then when you process it is when it becomes a problem, right? And so we now have to really, zoom in on our agriculture sector. We have the lands now, and stop calling our people squatters. Because everybody should have a piece of land. There should be no crown land. Actually, should be nothing here we're talking about no crown. Y'all should be ashamed of yourself that in 2025, y'all still want to talk about y'all holding up lands for crowns. After the crown would have taken it from y'all and even make y'all work for another 5 years to pay off for it. And even those people in England made the last payment that was made for the people who benefited from the slave era, the landowners and the planters. That was made in 2015. So sometimes when we have these stories and people talk about, oh, y'all always want to bring back things about slavery, and y'all always want to bring back things about the past. The last payment that was made to those people who claim that they own lands in these parts of the world from back then, that last payment was made in 2015. 2015. That was just 10 years ago. So when you are talking about the past, so they could have said then too, okay, but that was the past. Like forget about the money there. We ain't want no more the money there. No, they didn't. They still took it. So why is it after our people would have gone through all that for the land? Why is it that after Butcher would have tried to get back the lands? Why is it that after Kennedy Simmons would have paid off for the rest of the lands? Why is it that we are so willing to put it back into the hands of those who had it before, when we could do what they did with it and even better in these times? And agriculture provides one of that such opportunity to do that. Banky, we didn't even talk about the cannabis industry, which also adds into that agricultural space, which can also be another serious revenue generator for the country instead of selling out the lands. And the agriculture sector can do that in two ways, because, for example, Banky, even if you go to the hemp side of it, hemp helps to regenerate the lands and take out all the toxins and so to the soil. It is one of the plants that does that naturally. So if you're growing a crop, whether on your plantation right now, on your land right now, and you want to give it a break, hemp or cannabis is a good thing to grow in that time when you're giving a break. We take out all of the toxins and so on out of the soil, and then you can replant again in that area. So I'm just looking at from that perspective, and then it also provide an opportunity for another area of revenue generation and serious revenue generation. And also, if you're talking about foreign investors, it also opens the door for foreign investors as well. But it also puts us as the locals in a position where we can benefit more significantly than just in the stage of a destiny type project. But we are not hearing leaders, speak about this and try to channel our people into these areas. Yes, Banky?
One of the things, if you realize what Mr. Gent speaking about, and also the premier and his narrative, is that there's 50,000 other citizens out there with passport, and how come you're not worried about it? These two of them saying the same narrative, and okay, when you speak about it, he even mentioned it, and what you're worrying about 10,000 people for? If a 3,000 people have a way to worry about it, brethren, we're really saying we are the native. You are not a native. That's why I have to draw the difference between a citizen and a native, because 3,000 people it's gonna be a big impact. And whatever, even if you have your own private healthcare, it doesn't matter. It's just a change of culture. It's gonna affect your culture in a lot of ways. So this something like this need proper. Four Seasons does not have 500 people living down there. There ain't no other residency around here in St. Kitts that have 300 people living there all year round. You want to change your whole dynamic scope of navies. Navies won't be navies no more. So to come and want to hold of navies within 3 months, in less than 6 months, and our leaders figure it is okay to make such a decision. This is what going to change the whole landscape of St. Kitts and Nevis for the way forward now on. A simple decision by our leaders by not coming to the people and think this is the best thing ever. Because I say in this place, this is not going to be a good thing on the road.
The argument that is presented by the Premier and Nevis especially is that the fact that he is the Premier because majority of the people voted for him and his party. So when he speaks and the choices that he makes and the decisions that he makes and his party makes, they make it on behalf of the people. So they claim to speak for the people and the majority of people on Nevis. And that is the argument that is being presented. So whether he spoke to you...
Yes, but come back to the same majority. So come back to the same majority and let them know we're going to be making a life-changing decision that going to affect the whole of St. Nevis, and this is what they're going to be. It's a project that we're going to be moving in. It's a housing community of luxury homes, which is going to have accommodation to accommodate 50,000 people. And how do you guys feel about that?
Virgin, if I don't accustomed to consult with you, me and accustomed to consult with you, me accustomed to do this all the time and just tell you that we're doing it on behalf of you.
A decision like that. There was never a time where no development in St. Kitts or Nevis going to bring a residency to have a population of over 5,000 people, 3,000 people one time within 1 year, or 2,000 people in 1 year, and much less this of 10,000 families. Which development was like this? Which?
I know you are watch it.
No. I know which development.
I know
development.
None.
Good.
But hear me.
What if you say no whole water?
Listen to me, Banky.
That's all.
I know that you're a docile people, and I know that I could just ignore the noise. You understand? And at the end of the day,
this is not noise, yes, man.
It is noise.
No, this is not noise.
Banky,
that's fine.
Banky, it is noise.
Silent is noise too, you know. Silent is noise too. You know that, right?
Remember, according to the premier always try to correct you when you say the people are saying, you know, because remember he said it might be a small minority people saying, you know.
But who he is speaking for? But who he's speaking for? Himself?
There's no poll.
No, what I'm saying. But who is premier speaking for? If he's speaking for himself? Yes, son. Who is premier speaking for?
He's speaking for the majority. He's telling you who he's speaking for. He's speaking for the majority of people who vote for him and give him the mandate to go in there and do that. So sometimes you are upset.
No. Nobody give him a mandate. Nobody give him the mandate. He and Dr. Joe to bring 10,000, 20,000 people in Nevis.
Look, remember when 4 Seasons was coming? People said they couldn't go down there to catch crabs. But this is the narrative that is being pushed. I'm just repeating what is being said. And so people was frustrated when 4 Seasons was coming, but Sim Daniel had to make a decision anyway. The people were upset. And so he is putting himself in that position and saying, well, even though some people are making a little bit of cheese, I still have to be leader. As a leader, I have to make a decision.
Yes, but Mr. Johnson said the same thing, and I call Mr. Johnson, let him know. That's apple and cheese. What you're saying don't hold water. Four Seasons is not a residential area that having 300 people live there. This is a residential you want to bring here that have over 10,000 people. You can't make, it's not a comparison. It's not a comparison. And it is just, even the blind can see that. How can you compare a residency of a homeowners association of 10,000 families to Four Seasons? It's no comparison, Virgin. So I don't entertain the premier and his nonsense. What are you talking about?
So, you can
The
say
premier
what you
can
want,
can, can
Banky.
fool who you want.
You can say what you
Well, the
want.
premier will say you want
But
to.
here,
Well, of
so
course, that's the whole
over a
point.
thousand people already, over a thousand
Yes.
people have already applied to Destiny for jobs. When I talk to people on the street, people are telling
Yes, and that
me,
is fine.
especially the back operators
They're
on the
gonna apply
truck,
for a job.
they're
That's
telling me that
fine. That's
start
fine.
this project. What are you waiting for?
Of course. That's fine. Start the project, yes, and if it's one thing with me, I like to give
So,
people
so,
a
that,
chance,
so I am
But
just
yeah, do
Sabanki.
the
Hold on.
project.
I am just, I
Yes.
am just giving you the rational. I'm giving you the rational
I
for
get all
ignoring the
that.
noise.
I get all
That's what I'm
that.
telling you.
Yes.
I could ignore the noise because I
That's
have
fine.
these right, and so that is why at the
I'm the
end of the
kind of
month,
person.
and that is why
Yes.
before the end of the year, I'm gonna sign off on this thing. Where the year because here no,
Fine. That's fine,
sorry.
yes, and
Hold on, Banky. Hold on, Banky. Let me
yes.
back to a little seriousness now, right? Now, this is something that I've not really heard a lot of people spoke about and look at, but let's look at it from this perspective, right? I am the business, I am the investor coming in with this amount of money, right? To invest.
Yeah.
One of the things that a foreign investor is very much concerned about is government security, like the solidarity of the government, how strong the government is, because they have to be in that position where they feel that their investment is being protected. Now, here we have a
Yes.
scenario right now where, for both governments, just about maybe a year and a half left in their term before there is another election. So me as the investor would come in and I would be looking at the politics. So I would have to, whether I want to yes or not, I would have to be looking at the politics to some extent to be able to finalize my decision. No, the government have a year and a half. As an investor, would I feel comfortable really putting in this kind of investment, knowing that right now, seemingly, a lot of the opposition side is not for it, and there's seemingly some people else who are not for it, and this pushback that we're getting, would I be comfortable knowing that maybe in a year and a half, let's say, for example, if the election is called, then that government who I have done this deal with is not there anymore, and the government that comes in, like in the Honduras case, decide that, well, we don't really want this, and we're going to repeal this, and we're going to change this. So I would want to be more reassured that at least I have 5 years. So they would want to either have the government call an election early, so that at least they demonstrate that they can win and maintain us for at least the next 5 years, or this is why they have the SSZ to protect them. Why there is, like, you can't repeal this, because now with that in place, if you can't repeal, then whoever government comes in, there would be a problem similar to the prison project, where because you don't sign off on these things, the next government now have to continue this, or you'll be putting your people at a high risk of having to pay back some billions of dollars, like in the case of Honduras. I don't hear much people talk about from that perspective, but this is just me from a commoner looking on and thinking, putting myself in the investor shoes, and also putting myself in the shoes of the elected officials, and also in the shoes of an average Nivision. And that is what I guess we are
Yes,
seeking to
and
do with conversation. Yes.
sometimes when it comes to a poor, a bad decision, it's just like this decision with the Christoph Harbour. 20 years. They owe in social security, they owe in water, they owe in Skellig, but yet you want still give them 16 million from the CBI, 60 million from to pay bills in the United States. You have the time to withdraw your contract. Can they have not bring the $17 billion worth into the economy. They have not do what they're supposed to do. And you just keep giving them more and more and more, just like Kittishon Hill and all these other projects. Is the same thing. So when these guys come here and say, you hear the gentleman say he gonna build, then the money gonna come and go into and build the next one and build this and build that. You can't even tell me how much money properly the cost or the overall project gonna cost you. You can't say it because you really depend on selling the units, as he said, they're selling the units. So which means you must have people out there selling this passport. I don't know who the agent's gonna be. You're gonna have it's a whole heap of lawyers and agents gonna be making money out of these things. Let's say, let me go back again. The project start, it was get work. A few of them, a lot of people getting invest in trucks and this and that. They might bring in heavy equipment. Say, I don't know. But let's say those with the equipment getting work. Some contractors get work. There's the project start to develop and all kind of different stuff. We get a few millionaires within the industry, in truckers and contractors or whatever. Fine. When the project finish, 10 years down the road, those who was in primary school now, at 5 years old, now it's fifth farm, sixth farm, and as just teenagers, the whole landscape have changed. When they look now, all you see them around them now, you no longer know who is a native. Because all you see is people from all across the globe, Asian, this, that, everybody. Know what? All the money you don't make, and you know start to regret it now because you can't deal with what it is now. So that's how we're going to reflect now. All the money you don't make for the last couple of years. The time don't pass so fast. You can't believe 10 years pass so fast. Then know what? Those some people, because what the gentleman keeps saying, or if they go with it, they're going to be voting. They're speaking just so the premier speaking. Is what's the all living under the same roof? Because everything the premier say is the same thing Jensen say. It wasn't the premier coach him to speak like that. Because everything he say, what the premier say, you're worried about voting. Why he into our politics? That is the key. Because he's still putting this show here, viewers, as the viewers in NRP. I don't know who my viewers are. I don't know who they be. Me can't see. If you have 1,000 views, 2,000 views, me not see who. I don't know. Probably just going around that road and saying you come to choose this podcast because it's the more hostile podcast. Me not about that. You see what I mean? If those who support the project, they should come out and support the project. Because I don't against nobody who's supporting the project. You see what I mean? This is your duty to support the project. That's fine. Just have your reason. Explain yourself. Express your just that. But there will always be positive and negative. But all I know in grade 5 when Wakely Daniel and Lana Honking was my teacher, they started teaching me about tourism. Tourism teaches you the disadvantages worse than the good than the advantages. And nobody can say that is not true. Because you're losing your land. So when the king, my cousin, this and that say, I do not see one negative. When we go back to primary school, you're lying. You're losing your land. Your culture gonna change. Your demographic gonna change. Your cost of living gonna go up. Your cost of real estate gonna go up. You're lying. Straight and the same thing with Mr. Jensen. Lying again. You can't say it's all positive, my virgin. Once you're gonna go down the road and say this is all positive. A gentleman calling and the Let's Talk on Tuesday, and he asks Mr. Fifield, because Mr. Fifield seems to be in support of the project. Beautiful. What is your positive that you don't agree with the project? And whole hour to answer a simple question. You should not feel uncomfortable supporting a project that you believe in. You should be able to be fluent to speak. Yes, as I explained myself, yes, son, you will get some work on contractors. Just speak like that. But also go down and say, well, these things, these are not that can happen too. You should be able to balance out things. If you cannot speak, I can speak on the positive and the negative. That's our project you should be speaking of. Not because I might be against it, doesn't mean I can't say, yes, you will get work, yes, you will get these things, yes, you will get that thing, but without the disadvantage amongst the good. This is how you go about doing the different stuff, because it's not like, or whether it's 10,000, you don't know who they are. Which area it's not going to be, or they all just come from the United States, they all just come from Asia, they all just come from Africa. You got African people as millionaires with the same ideas. You see what I mean? That's just the reality. But if you cannot speak openly when it comes to making comparison, because as I said, yes, I don't support the project, but yes, I know some of the goods about work. Work is always God always need work, you always need this thing. Yes, but does the positive outweigh the negative alone? We're gonna have unlimited amount of people coming to a country with 13,005 is just good enough not to want the project. Just that alone is just enough. You know, nothing else have to go above that for me. That alone is just because it's just not clear, you know, because you cannot tell me the cap, there's not a cap. So I wake up 20 years later and then it's 30,000 people, 100,000 people. You might pass your son.
Yeah, when we look at our population, and you look at the numbers that you just present, guys. Okay, if you said that they're going to build 10,000 villas, 5,000 villas.
10,000 families.
Okay, 10,000 families. So that's 40,000 people. So let's make it smaller. Let's just three, a family of three. So let's say 30,000 people, right?
Yes.
Okay. When you have a population of
Nevis gone up to 43 now.
So hold on. So what I'm saying, when you have a 13,000 population, and you're going to be seeking to bring in a 30,000, well, that is not a development, that is settlement, because now you even have a lot more that. So this is recolonization. This is another set of people taking over, because you have a lot more than the population that is there, and then you have a scenario where it is not just 30,000 people, it is 30,000 billionaires or millionaires, or people who have money. And when people have money, we know how they function and how they behave. I lived in America. I know how these people function and operate. And then when you're going to be in a zone like that, and he said that he's a libertarian, he admitted that he's a libertarian, but he was also saying that there's no guarantee that it's only libertarians who are going to invest in his project, which is true.
Yes, son. Let me interject a little bit. Our guest is going to come in shortly. Okay, get mixed up with the time, so little time is better than nothing still. So when they come in, we just continue the conversation.
Yeah, man, we give him the time. Yes, definitely. But like I said, Banky, I'm telling you, these people. So as he said, he's a libertarian, but he don't know if all of the people who are going to invest in his project are going to be libertarians. But, however, when you study the libertarian society and community and how they function, we and a lot of things we haven't discussed. We don't know if they're going to be able to have open carry in their state. We don't know if, after a certain time, like, in America, there's some places where they have those sundown laws, so to speak, where, a certain group of people can't be seen in certain communities after a certain hour. And if you're found maybe in those areas over there, if the security and so on would have the right to take you out because you're trespassing and things like that. A lot of things you have to look at and consider when you are over in those zones. And here this person here saying online, 43,000 people with no benefits because they would not be paying any taxes. So how do we get continuous revenues from the zone? That's another question on the platform. So, Banky, somebody is saying pros and cons. True, that needs to be weighed. I think beyond an environmental impact assessment, any sustainable project needs a social impact assessment. So I support proper stakeholder consultations conducted before. My exact point, but here is where we are now, person on the wall. We're at a point now where the developer is saying that he don't want to go through next year with this not signed. And then we have the premier saying in his press conference a couple of days ago that he wants to get this done before the year is over. So they didn't consult with us before. the little time that we are seeking to get consultations and clarity and so on is being pushed aside because seemingly from both discussions with the premier, discussions with the developer, there's no sign of taking into account, so to speak, the pushback from all of the different various areas. If they want to talk about people like just the average people like me and you who's pushing back, who they're not so certain about. But then you have like the Chamber of Commerce, you have the Navy's Historical and Conservation Society, you have Christian Council, you have, you know, prominent members in society, people like Doya Astafan and others who have, you know, the King's Council, um, um, father of the AG, who is a well-renowned legal luminary in our parts, have spoken out about this issue. And there's seemingly no even, you know, I mean, effort from the government to say, by we don't consider what the people are saying and we have to, you know, go back to the table and look at this thing or nothing like that. So seemingly we just have to wait until the end of the month and see if they actually do sign off on this thing, or if the people within this time frame, within the time of now, end of the year, would be bold enough and get out of that docile state that they know that are the claim that we are, and really stand up and speak out if that's what they want. So it is up to the people. And I keep saying, I am not really so upset with politicians as much as I am upset with my people who are afraid to stand up and speak out when it becomes necessary for their cause. But Banky, we have our guests, and we are going to definitely, you know, yield because
Yes, sir.
we're waiting and looking forward to, you know, getting a chance to engage in the discussion with Professor Knife. And so what we're going to do at this point, Banky, I'm just going to go straight into a little bit of biography, so to speak, a little, you know, introductory statement about our guests so that people
Yes, sir.
can get the idea of who we have here on the platform. And so, good evening, Elder. We have Dr. Kadamari A.H.N. Knife, a prominent Rastafari lecturer, researcher, and thought leader at the Mona School of Business and Management, University of the West Indies in Jamaica, holding a PhD in Sustainable Development and MSc in Economics. He serves as director of the Center for Entrepreneurship, Thinking and Practice, CETP, where he spearheads initiatives in social entrepreneurship, strategic planning, and innovation for sustainable growth. His work emphasizes dynamic planning techniques applied at international, regional, and national levels, particularly in developing countries, at-risk communities, and among vulnerable youth. Dr. Knife leads the BSc in Management and Entrepreneurship program and directs the Office of Social Entrepreneurship and Youth Crime Watch Jamaica, integrating research with practical impact on community safety, gang intervention, and economic empowerment. He is an associate researcher with UWI's Institute of Sustainable Development, advocating for agriculture-driven wealth creation, such as putting idle land into production to generate jobs and reduce poverty. His accolades include the Principals Award for Research to Public Policy from UWI, recognizing his bridge between academia and actionable governance. With expertise in gender and climate change, mainstreaming social sector innovation, and cannabis policy, Dr. Knife's challenges conventional economic models, promoting entrepreneurship as a tool for self-reliance in the Caribbean. A frequent speaker on platforms addressing economic history, cannabis legalization, and sustainable community development. He inspires agripreneurs and policymakers alike. His Rastafari-rooted perspective enriches discussions on holistic progress, making him a vital voice for territories seeking agricultural revival. And that is one of the reasons why we have him here on the platform, because definitely St. Kitts and Nevis need agricultural revival based on the direction that we are going. And presently we have a food import bill of roughly somewhere between 150 to 200 million dollars annually. And we were known to be Queen of the Caribbean, one of the islands that used to be shipping food and, you know, all over the region. That's why we got the name Queen of the Caribbean, because we used to send a lot of food back to England and all that historically. So with that, you know, Brother Knife, I just want to, you know, officially invite you to the platform and give you the opportunity to make your opening remarks. And, you know, let's make use of the time that we have you here.
Yeah, man.
Yes,
Let
sir.
me say thank you to the team. You know, it's really
Yes,
a
sir.
joy to be speaking with your brothers across the entire Caribbean. You know, and even if I be talking about St. Kitts and Nevis, the beauty about being at University of the Western is that we meet everybody from everywhere in the Caribbean.
Yes,
And we
sir.
know
Yes,
from
sir.
we know from a long time that it's just 14 different parishes in the same Caribbean space. You know, we might think that our island, but we're the same set of people, just
Right,
Yeah,
separated by
man.
right.
water. But the life is the same and the experiences has been the same. You know, similar
True.
skill set and similar opportunities as well, you know. And one thing we
Yes.
learn that the Caribbean from 1492 has been the center of the world. In everything, the center of the world. You know, and we must recognize that. And in doing that, you ask yourself, what is the most crucial thing to make you truly independent as a region? This is not new arguments, you know. These are things that I people have discussed for decades. Feed, clothes, and shelter yourself.
Yes, sir.
How are you going to feed, clothes, and shelter yourself? Agriculture is the fundamental driver of all wealth creation in the world. Yes, if we're talking about micro, small, and medium enterprises, 95% of all micro, small, and medium enterprises are linked into the agriculture value chain, which means that you can't push manufacturing if you don't push agriculture. Yes, so it is a
Yes, sir.
fundamental pillar for any form of development, in particular sustainable development. You know, it addresses all the fundamental things that I want to argue about in the sustainable development goals. They say zero hunger, zero poverty, access to health care and water and sanitation, gender equality, but I mean the two fundamental principles of zero hunger and zero poverty, which are the two key elements in the sustainable goal. Those things are solely dependent upon sustainable agriculture practices. Now, we also know that the region in the Caribbean, everywhere in the Caribbean, we have more people who die annually from consuming bad food than from any form of violence. Which means technically that the major violence against our people in the Caribbean is through food that we don't produce. You go and check it. We have more people dying from non-violent means in the Caribbean than through violence, but there's no meaningful direct strategy to combat that violence or that crime against the population, meaning that they are consuming a lot of bad food that support all these non-communicable diseases like high blood pressure, diabetes, heart disease, all those things that kill our people every year. Yes? So it means that agriculture is a fundamental basis of also your health strategy. Noting that I'm not talking about treating illnesses now, you know. We are talking about ensuring that people remain healthy so you don't need to get into a hospital system. So the food that you plant and control, because the only food that you are sure about is the food that you plant. The only food that you are certain about, regardless of what we might see on the label. based on international standards, the thing that you are most certain about is the food that you grow by yourself, or by extension in the community that you come from, or by extension the country that you are from, or the region that you are from. You know? So, and if you don't have, as Rastafari, I argue that only when I'm paraphrasing, that only when a country has established a solid basis for its agriculture can it look towards the future with confidence. With confidence. You know? So, within my own experience and knowledge, I recognize that the farmer is the king in the earth. The farmer is the king in the earth. No, it don't mean that the farmer do have other skill sets and do other things, but the farmer, whether you're a big farmer or a small farmer, or you're a mother who have a garden outside where you're doing once you're doing planting and connecting to the earth and ensuring that you're less dependent upon a system that you're not even certain about, to support the most fundamental part, the most fundamental gateway to your life and your livelihood of your people, the farmer. You know? And that's why we take the sector very serious.
Yes, welcome, Dr. Knife.
Before you get in, I just want to add that one of our followers on the Facebook wall is already hailing up, Dr. Knife, somebody who probably knows you very well. So I'm going to mention the name. Telly Uno says, hail up Knife. Big up Knife.
Yes, sir. Greetings.
All right. So go ahead, Banky. You can go ahead. And I just wanted to interject that. So let you know that you have viewers who already know you. So you have your people in your zone already.
Yeah, man. We sit and learn from so many people, Life is like that, and more people are going to know it than you can remember. But each person where you meet or engage is a learning moment, And so we look forward to meeting a lot of people, if it's even for a second, but that exchange. and you want me know, a lot of time the exchange is more non-physical. Because the positive transfer of energy just through thought, it amplifies their own being as well still. So you say, even the virgin I say, hail up Knife now, that word now is real energy coming through,
Vibration.
So you still learn. At least you learn that when they give positive vibes, you receive positive vibes,
It's a system.
All right. All right.
Anyway, you can go ahead.
Yeah, man. Greetings, King Dr. Knife. I'm greatly appreciate you taking time out to be a part of the Real Entertainment Network and the Everything Agriculture Show. I specifically choose you to be a part of this show because right now, throughout the whole Caribbean, we have large economic tourism development moving throughout the region. Right now, we have a situation here where our leaders have come up with put special laws to Parliament secretly in less than 2 months to propose a development that's going to bring over 10,000 families and a 3 square mile, a 17,000 acre land and impose it upon the people. Yeah, man. So, I follow the eye over the years, and I know you're well versed when it comes to tourism and agriculture.
Yeah.
So that's why I specifically reach out to you. I plan my podcast, then people want to know how I get my guests them and whatever. But alignment and nothing is coincidental. So to my people and link up with you. Yeah, man, and make it happen because you're the ideal person I want to be a part of this show. To show the people them who listen to the sound of your voice and your expertise. Because I know you still advise the Jamaica government when it comes to policies like this. Why agriculture and tourism should not the way to go when it comes to these small islands and to the Caribbean. Mike is yours, brother.
All right. It's a tourism. Remember, it's not just now. It's not just now. The region has been engaged in tourism. From the 1980s, it was a strategy that was implemented under the Reagan and Thatcher and the then Caribbean governments to look at tourism as a big driver for regional development. But you see, the problem with models like those, as we know, because we do not control or own those hotels. You do not own or control the planes. You do not own or control the ships. Most of the things that the money is spent on in what is called the tourism system, according to Dr. Carolyn Hale, which includes the transit routes, yes, the generating markets, which is where the persons are coming from, the hotels, and then the destination. Within that model, what the Caribbean people control is the destination. But majority of the money that is spent in the whole system is spent in things that we have no control over. Now, when you think about it, if you think about the retention of the money, and this really deals with the big tourism models, when I'm bringing these big companies to set up. If you're talking about community-based tourism, that is something very different. You know, when you're talking about the big setups. So the model don't trickle down, the money do not trickle down to the communities. They might create some jobs. Yes? But in reality, you find that you don't develop a country using trickle-down models. You want to develop a country where you control the means through which you generate your income. Now, why is this important? Say, for example, we recognize that there's something happening in the United States that is causing less tourists from the United States to travel to the Caribbean or from Europe, if that is where our tourists probably come from. What are you going to do about it? Simply what happened under COVID-19. If you depend upon tourism, like most of the Caribbean countries or most of the income, it means that the things external to your economy, the things that you don't have control over, determine the lifeblood of your economy, you're going to be in problem. Because a man can decide that, okay, we don't want anybody going to St. Kitts and Nevis because we put them on a particular list, which is dangerous, for whatever reasons. And some of those reasons might be just based on geopolitics. I mean, there are so many reasons. Now, on the other hand, you must think about agriculture, because everything globally speaks to food sovereignty. Because food sovereignty is fundamental to health sovereignty and also fundamental to wealth sovereignty. And agriculture includes water and land as well, including sea and I would say air. But the three basic principles will be land, sea, salt water, fresh water. Those are things that include agriculture. You know, and so people have to think about what they are doing. What is sustainable? Now, if you're using community-based tourism, which means then, when I travel through the Caribbean, see, I have a lot of brethren. So if I'm going to St. Kitts, I'm going to check the ones who I know in St. Kitts. I'm going to stay, or they're going to advise me as to where I'm to stay, because I'm not going to a big hotel either. So you want a tourism program where the tourists experience escape properly. It's not a package thing you're getting. You're getting the reality of being a part of what happens in SK. That is what you want people to experience. But if you're using that sun, sea, and sand, clean beach approach, which isolates the tourists from the population and creates a kind of false culture that they are consuming, it makes those entities unsustainable. Remember, we must understand, there's something that I find that as Caribbean people, we do understand when it comes to people and who we are in the globe. Remember that these people who are coming to the Caribbean as tourists are descendants of people who were here hundreds of years ago. Some involved in enslavement, enslaving black people. But during that period, you have a lot of persons who were writers, who write poems and write books and write stories about their experiences, their wonderful experiences in places like St. Kitts and Barbados and Anguilla and Montserrat and Jamaica. And stories about the birds and the bees and the rivers and all these things that you don't see anywhere else. And that these are stories that these youths grow up on as well. A lot of it in Europe, not so much in America, you know. So them grow up on these things. And so coming to the Caribbean is something that they want to come to do. And so those who come, particularly from out of Europe and the UK, tend to spend longer times and want to be more integrated into the communities. They want to experience, because they learn of these stories and they want to see these things and experience these things for themselves. You know? So, in that model, the agriculture becomes something that synchronizes with the community-based and the community-driven tourism program, because those people want to consume food that you produce and cook in SK in any kind of fashion, whether it be somebody who might have a food store, if you have that on the street, or into a community where somebody have a food place, or you go to a restaurant where them still serving these SK food, rather than you getting some continental breakfast in a Caribbean country, which is what a lot might happen, and things, and sometimes give you some of the food that you produce and some of the food that you use. But I mean, in the community-driven approach, you'll find that there's a more synergy with agriculture, because you will also have what you call agriculture tourism, where people are going through the hills and going to people's farms. People want to come and work on your farm in St. Kitts and Nevis, come to your farm to work as part of their tourism experience. This is not something that we are making, but if you can go online and type this in, you'll see it. People come there and spend not one day, not a month, 2 months, and these are people who become repeat tourists because they now become tied to the land. So is the approach. So you see, when you don't contextualize things, when you don't ensure that whatever you're applying relates to the reality of your people, as against cutting and pasting a model that somebody give you and say, this is what you should use, you lose control of it. And then you lose sight of even how things, because remember, you know, tourism is not something that them create, you know. Them define a tourist as somebody who spend one day outside of the space on which them actually comes from. So even in St. Kitts and Nevis now, you're going to find some people that leave as a tourist when they come as St. Kitts. So think about it. So the movement from one place to the next is not a problem. It's now how that is integrated in your economy and not imposing, and don't create a sense of subservience within your nationals who work in the industry, because they feel that they're serving people who are better than them, because they have that kind of culture in the tourism industry, you know, where people start to lose themselves. So you'll find that you're starting to speak more, not in your version of the English language, but in a version of the English language that sounds like how the tourists will pronounce the words. So what it means in that part of your culture, as somebody from SK, is going to be removed from the tourism product, because I see these things in Jamaica. You know, the way them speak is not with the Jamaican tone, and is more trying to sound like, so the tourists can better understand what you're saying in the communication. And while we understand the importance of communicating in a language where the customer can understand, but part of what the customer has come to do is to learn. Not here in the eye, my brother. The far right, you seem like you're on mute.
I would just say, yes, they came to learn your language and your culture and to eat your food, and you know, in a lot of cases, that is what they actually. That's what they actually
exactly,
come from.
Exactly. But just so I have to put in my charger. But just to get forward to the more crucial point, which is really about the agriculture. You know, if you're going to juxtapose the two industries and say, let us see which of these industries would more synchronize with the development plan for my country and the region. And let us use a historical analysis to see how these two sectors have impacted regional development. Then we can make that decision in a very objective kind of way. Because remember, I know it's three Ras. And everybody knows as Rastafari, and I don't have a bias towards agriculture a long time. You see? So what I'm going to do is the natural outcome I discuss with three Rastafari was that, yeah, but you have to need agriculture over tourism. Because that's like natural liberty. See? However, we can use an objective analysis and still show the ones that, yeah, it's better if you do agriculture than tourism. Let me just plug in this charger. Some phone down.
Yeah, man, take your time.
No problem, man. No rush. Yeah, people, if you're just logging in and listening to us, we are here with Dr. Professor Knife, who is a lecturer at the University of the West Indies, and he specializes in economics, agriculture. There are a number of things, and I see that we will definitely have to have you back, Doctor, because you came a bit late, and we're gonna give you some extra time, yes, though. But I definitely would like to be back because
I can always come forward in a kind of form like this,
Yes,
so we'll check it then. So let's just look at the two sectors then. Look at the two sectors. Remember that the highest incidence of poverty in most countries tend to be in rural communities. And the data will show that you'll find the poverty is highest in rural communities where you have single-headed households, female-headed households in particular. So you ask yourself, where is it that these people usually build them hotels as well? They also target rural land spaces to build up a hotel. Now, when you empower a farmer, and empowering the farmer in agriculture, have to be clear. See, let us be clear. So agriculture is a business that follows a process and things. See? And the process, just like any business, requires land, it requires human resource, we call labor. See? It requires capital, whether it be financing or equipment. Yes? And it requires that kind of mindset now, that business mindset, that entrepreneurial mindset, the entrepreneurship, because all farmers are entrepreneurial now. They're very innovative and creative. Entrepreneurship is not also about a business, it's about using innovators and creatives to achieve an objective. So farmers are like that, but it's a process. And so you have to support that process and support agriculture as business, whether persons are registered formally or non-formally. If somebody is not registered formally, what you want to do is to help them to standardize them farming practices, so you expose them to the good or the best practices in agriculture, especially you talk about climate smart agricultural practices. So you probably use drip irrigation system and subsurface irrigation system or minimal tillage. I always promote ital farming. There's the one that we promote. If you can't put it on your skin, don't put it on your food.
Yeah, man.
So you have a record, and you're supporting that process. So it's not about just formalizing persons, about ensuring that they might imply good health and safety standards and good environmental standards, and you're supporting that process. And you help them to regularize, which means that if they are non-formal, if they're not in formal groups, but I'm in the same community, help them come to see me, I'm in farmers group, you'll have to run to become registered. But the more people you have planting food and planting good, clean food, it still pumps into the system. They will now recognize the importance of becoming farmer because they might be able to get access to certain resources within that agriculture system. But the objective should first be to empower people to standardize and give them best practices in terms of how them can, whether I'm registered with you or not. But when the farmer produces his product, it either goes to the local market or depending on where they are in them business development, it might also go to export. But the money generated by that farmer, where is that money kept? Where is it spent first and foremost? It's spent in his own local space and it's kept in his own local bank. So when the guy who control the hotel make the money, where is that money kept? That's what you need to ask yourself. Where it keep? You don't have access to it. So naturally, it means that if you support farmers or people who run businesses in St. Vincent, St. Kitts, and Nevis. That's why the reason so much I people them cross the region, because it's a Caribbean bridge enough for you. It's straight regional development I promote, Yeah. So when a person owns a micro, small, and medium enterprise business, which is what I tend to focus on a lot with entrepreneurship, when them owns that kind of business, the money is usually spent and retained in the country. And that is how you get to grow the country. That's how you get to grow the country. So now, if the objective of the government is to grow St. Kitts and Nevis, you have to say, where do I spend my money that generates the most money that is kept in this country? Not where I make the most money generally, but where that makes the most money that is kept in your country. But we're not against people making money, but I'm saying where you make the money must be kept in your country. And those are the things that you give the most incentives. And usually, those are businesses owned by people from your country. The man who owns a store in your community, where he spend his money? Back in the community or a store close to your community?
Yes.
So no then. So the most sure business that any country owns is the food that planted the earth. They can own a shop, People can own shop. But the things in the earth sustain you. Real sustainable. And people might not want what is in the shop anymore, but people always want food. Just remember that. COVID-19 that came about, it reminded a lot of our brothers and sisters in the Caribbean. Reminded, they're not telling them because we know these things, is that what we are doing is reminding people of the importance of these things, because all Caribbean people know that it's food govern earth. But COVID reminded people that the farmer is the most important being on the face of the earth. Not an informer, the farmer who plants food. And anywhere you are in that food value chain, whether you're planting, reaping, selling, manufacturing, so the process must cover all of these things. The process from land preparation to food production to post-harvesting, which is an extremely important element which is overlooked in many countries. So on average, they argue that about 40% of all food that is produced tend to be wasted. See? So you don't come and give the farmer seeds to plant and drip irrigation system and land preparation, but you don't give him the post-harvesting, whether it be storage through free refrigeration, like a 40-foot refrigerated container, or you give him food processing thing where him dry, or the minimal processing. But those kinds of things must be done as well when you think about agriculture, because the majority of revenue is generated on the value added. And that's why we argue that both the agricultural sector and the manufacturing sector married, they are really together. And the more you produce, is the more you can send out there, the minimal processing. Remember, that we have 25 million people in the Caribbean, and we have 25 other million Caribbean people in the Caribbean diaspora that we can feed. And only Guyana is recorded as the only country that can produce all of the food we need, feed people. The only country that is doing it. Which means then, we know that all Caribbean country can do it. All Caribbean country. And outside of that, we are saying that all the Caribbean countries together can produce not only the amount of food that we need to feed the Caribbean people in the Caribbean and in the diaspora, but also many other people. But my own philosophy is that we must focus on feeding the 50 million Caribbean people, whether they're in the Caribbean or in the diaspora, before we start focus on feeding anybody else outside of the Caribbean and the Caribbean diaspora. And currently we are not doing that. We are not feeding our people within the countries that we have in the Caribbean, and we are not feeding our people who are outside of the Caribbean. And remember now, I do not have to convince a non-Caribbean person to eat a Caribbean food, but you have to spend money to market Caribbean food to non-Caribbean people in China or in Europe or in the USA. So it's actually a cheaper and more effective marketing strategy to have a diaspora direct export-led strategy as against a broad export-led strategy, which means that we focus and concentrate a lot of our agriculture products and minimal processed products to the diasporic areas where we have the largest Caribbean populations, and ensure that those businesses, because you have some of that already taking place, but we want to ensure that some of those businesses, the intermediaries, are now owned by Caribbean people. So you get Caribbean people along the entire supply and value chain. And when we have saturated that market, we can think about other places that have embraced Caribbean culture in a big way. But all Caribbean countries that I have looked at can double them agriculture output.
Yes, Dr. Knife. So if this is so easy to do, why is our leaders also overbent in taking up our land space to bring in large tourism development?
No, because of his mindset and training. Because some of these guys really believe that what they're doing is correct,
Yes.
Let me tell you
exactly.
something. Remember, all ones are trained at tertiary institutions. And a part of the function of the training is to inculcate a certain kind of philosophy, and one embrace certain philosophies based on their own training and what them accept to be true. See? So you find that straight across the Caribbean, most of the youths who are in governments embrace what is called a neoliberalist kind of mindset. See? And the neoliberalist mindset is one that thinks that